Okay, welcome to a Thursday. Beautiful day. Pretty much, I'm not calling it weather light because weather's always awesome and interesting, even when it's not hammering. Southern California is getting a bit of a break. There are red flag warnings in the hills. We'll peek at that. We're not going to go super gnarly in depth today because I think one of the things I've learned about doing weather is I think sometimes you guys just want to hear. Yeah, you don't want to know. You don't want to look at all the models. Some of you do, and that's awesome, and they're in my links. But I'll just filter it in, and then you can pursue what you want to pursue. But I was thinking about this fire thing in LA, which was really, it was scary. Like if you're a meteorologist or anybody, it was scary. What am I saying? But we've always known about the potentiality of a big LA fire, and this met all the parameters. This record dry, 2% of rainfall average, and then record winds. And it's just the worst case scenario. They hadn't had rain in 8 months or something. So we knew that was coming, but you know what really struck me was you didn't know that damage was coming, but you just knew that scenario was no way it doesn't play out. Because remember California, earthquakes, fire, and drought. Don't forget it. Just anytime you build a house, anytime you move somewhere, think earthquake, fire, drought. And tsunami and earthquakes, as a gentleman pointed out the other day, it's kind of the same thing. Tsunami and earthquake, same thing, even though their earthquakes generate tsunamis. But the thing in LA reminded me a lot, and it's rare that I get upset. There's a couple times, like during the Japanese tsunami, remember that? We were watching that. I was on the air with Dennis, and the news was over. We used to do a 10 to 11. The 11 o'clock news was over, and I was looking at the live feeds because we knew there was an earthquake, and all of a sudden it's daytime there. So their traffic helicopters were up flying, or maybe it was, I can't remember what time it was in the day, but they had traffic choppers up, the Japanese folks. And we could see this thing in real time. And I remember Mike Kelly, the executive producer at the time, goes, "What do we do?" And I go, "We stay on the air." And Mike, actually, he didn't ask me what to do. I told him, I go, "We need to stay on the air." And he goes, he was smart to listen. And we had this Japanese tsunami in real time. And I'm watching, my heart's going like this because I don't think that's ever happened where you get a tsunami in real time. Like all the pictures I ever saw were of Hilo in the 50s, and they were still pictures, and you didn't see the power. No, I don't know if there's that. I think that's the first time. So I'm watching this in real time and just thinking, oh my God. Well, Oroville Dam was the same way. When the spillway, remember when the spillway went? I watched them build that dam with my dad. We used to go down and watch the excavators. It was huge back in the 60s. And my dad, I'll never forget him saying that spillway that was an overflow, where they had eventually had the problems, that overflow spillway, he goes, if that ever happens, look out if they ever have to run overflow. And it did, and it happened, and we were on the air numerous nights. It was an ongoing thing, if you remember right. I know that area well, and I know the devastation had that dam popped, or that earth, because it's an earth-filled dam. And I just remember watching it going, oh my God, this is like, it was like the Japanese tsunami, and the LA fires for me were the same deal, exactly the same deal. Like, it's just like, oh my God. And when you see it, so earthquakes, fires, and droughts, and make earthquakes and tsunamis the same. Okay, but yeah, interesting. My time in the news business has been interesting. I've had a lot of interesting things. And I was at a number one news station, still number one. But back in the day, before the internet, geez. Okay, so this is Wolfback Ridge. I have a story about this, but I'll save it for another day. I used to live kind of down here in those condos. I used to hike up here all the time. I was a nanny when I was when I was in graduate school. We will talk about that. I'll try not to forget. But I was a nanny for a couple of years because I didn't have any money. So I looked after kids. It was awesome. Megan and Kate. I think Megan and Kate, they're probably like 40 now or something. Okay, so this is Southern California. This is the forecast winds for today and tonight. And you can see much lighter in the hills, even 23 miles an hour. Still not great. The wind directions are kind of great. We're seeing winds that are generally blowing slightly onshore. Here's the fire zone. You don't see smoke. That is really an upshot for sure. This alert camera, I pulled this up. This is at the end of Wilshire Boulevard. So you're looking at Malibu up here. Point Dume is up here. And you can see the ocean. Now, what do you notice about the ocean? First of all, there's no swell. There is swell, but it's tough to get swell. LA doesn't get good winter swell like we do. But you can see the ocean, right? See the wind line? See the slick? So if the winds were really howling offshore through these canyons, I don't know if that's Topanga or not. I'm not good in LA canyons, but that would be roughed up, right? That would be roughed up. This to me indicates a slight wind, maybe onshore, maybe offshore, but most likely onshore from what I'm seeing on the surface obs. So when you look at the water, now if I showed you this picture a day ago, 2 days ago, you would see just riffles, right? Just roughed up sea surface. So that's just a visual. And then I put in the current, this is the Meso West, and I put in the current RH, relative humidity. And you can see Santa Monica is at 20. Is that relative humidity? I want to make sure it's right. I think it is relative humidity. Yes. I got a 55 RH down by Seal Beach, 49. So that's indication of a bit of a sea breeze coming back. For a while, those RHs were at 20%, 10, 15%, which is low. It's still low in the hill. It's still dry. And you go, well, why do you care about the humidity so much? Because when you're mopping up fires, it's easy to get a fire start that on those containment lines. That's what a containment line is. It's basically just around the fire. It's not necessarily an active fire. It's around the fire, and they're trying to make sure that nothing can go beyond that. So this fire started a week ago. There's hot spots, and they'll come up a week later. A tree will burn. The roots will be burning underground. I think I've seen it, like Point Reyes fire was years ago, was like that, where we had fire starts coming up weeks later. I say weeks because some of the roots of some of the trees, I think it was eucalyptus trees, got burned. So things are going the right way for Southern California. I show you this. This is the National Weather Service homepage. This is everybody. And you can see for us, blue represents a frost advisory. Here is that area in Southern California where there's a short area and a short-lived red flag warning with much reduced situation. And then you just look around the country and go, pretty mellow. The blues, these are all frost advisories or freeze warnings, I'm pretty sure. And then these grays are kind of a wind thing. But one of the things I would point out, I'm not going to go into it, but there's going to be a real big cold snap. There's an Arctic blast coming down through the plains as we go into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and that's going to really, it's going to be a big story, polar vortex kind of a thing. But we play the West Coast game here. That's what we do. We love it, and that's why we were here. We love California. I love the weather in California, and all the naysayers, and Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's a fine guy. He's a really good interviewer, actually. But I moved to Austin. Austin rules. It's like, it does, and they're kind of throwing shade on California, and I'm like, it is what it is. It's earthquakes, fire, and drought. It is, and it's always going to be. But it's also snowboarding, skiing, surfing, mountain bike. It's everything. That's why not everybody, but the original people that came out here, very creative, very adventurous, and that's what makes California special. It doesn't make it, we're not amazing, great thing in this world, but we're different. We're different, and if this is what happens. And we should get better at building where we build our homes. We should get better at how we build our homes. We need to learn how to use water better, just like Australia. Australia had a drought. I want to say it lasted like a bunch of years, like 10 years. I should check that. I don't, but it was called they called it the Big Dry in Australia. And I think it was in the 80s. And they got people that can't use water down there. And they taught the public how to use like a quarter of the water they were using. They just do. That's how they do business, and that's how they get by in Australia, because they have a really dry climate as well. Okay, this is what happens when the weather's not hammering. I kind of go off on little tangents, but I think they're all relevant. Okay, so this is, I hope you do. This is California. I put a circle around us. Here's LA. What I'm looking for now is, normally I'd be looking for rain, but you'll see some pop in here. But this is the GFS model. And what I want you to see is, what I'm looking for really mostly are those lines. See the lines? See when they get together like here? That's sort of a wind, but not a lot. We're looking for those lines to get really close. And because I'm concerned for LA for another wind event. And you see down in Southern California, I think it shows up. It's still good. They're getting a good break. Are you watching the lines? Okay, so there. Oh, that's interesting. There's a little. See that little low come in? Goes to the north. And then, there it is. See those lines, railroad ties? This is more out in Yucca Valley and those areas, but that's a big wind. That's a big Tahoe wind. That's a big Bay Area wind or a big Valley wind. But you see how close the isobars are together? That is on January 24th. And as we've been talking about, as we get into the 26th, we've got a chance of rain, and here it comes. So watching LA, the line, see, yeah, so that's a wind event for LA there. That is on Saturday the 25th, but there's rain coming, and here it comes. This is rain for us on the 25th, which looks minor. And then the low does something I don't like very much. It drops down through LA. And that can create another wind event. Not as extreme, but that's sort of the scenario when these lows track south. So what I just say, it looks like we might get some rain on the 26th, 27th. LA is free of wind for a while, but they do have an opportunity around the 25th to see an increase in wind. This is, I'm going to reconnect now. This is Sugar Bowl. There it is, Sugar Bowl. I still love Sugar Bowl. What am I saying? That's Nob Hill. And I'm like, this is the thing about skiing that's awesome. Like, I grew up skiing, and then I started snowboarding, then I ski again, and now I mostly ski because the skis are like snowboards. But see these jumps? There was a time when I could do that. But I'll still, at age 110, will go up there and try to get these things. And it's you see, right? You see the old man dad going after it, and it's because it triggers something in my head, right? When I say, because it's perfect. I come from the day when we used to we'd pack jumps. Like, we'd go there, we'd get on a run, and we'd go way out to the side, and we'd find a log, and we'd put snow. You remember, right, in the 70s? And because Wayne Wong and who's that guy? Christy Chapstick or Susie Chapstick? Susie, I can't remember Susie's last name, but they were all freestyle skiers, and we wanted to be freestyle skiers. So we'd make jumps out of old trees and land in the, whatever. But now, look at that. That's awesome. I'm not going to do it, but I do know that feeling gets evoked in me. Here is the beautiful shot of Mount Shasta. Not much to say about Mount Shasta other than that's a beautiful little valley. And I actually talked to texted a guy this morning from Lake Almanor, which is beautiful too. He's just moved up there from, I want to say Brisbane. I can't remember, but he loves it. He loves it. And now Lake Almanor, because Lake Almanor, you see the backside of Mount Lassen, and this is sort of looking towards, this kind of sort of east, I guess, for the most part. All right, that's a lot of just me jabbering on, but we did get some weather in, right? So we know that we're not going to be wet for a while. We have a frost advisory tonight. Daytime highs are generally going to stay in, I wish I could get this live for you, sorry. Daytime highs are generally going to stay in the, let me do this, just because I want it perfect. Daytime highs are generally going to be in the 60s, low 60s. But we're running about 5 or 10 degrees above average. Here's Ocean Beach. Look, it's moving. That's good. But they're calling it 6 to 8. But that literally, if you go, hey Bill, what's your tolerance? That's it. That's the height of my tolerance. Just because that line, it's hard to get out. It's cold. It's windy. It's Ocean Beach, man. Ocean Beach is awesome. All right, that's it. That's it. Okay, I hope you guys. So we know it's not going to rain for a while till the 26th. We know LA is getting a big break. We know we have a frost advisory. We know the skiing's awesome, but kind of icy in the morning. And we know we live in California. And we know we love it. Thank you so much for hanging in with me. I'm almost at 2,000. I'm stoked. Be awesome. Tell a friend, and we'll keep doing it. See you later.